And next we have Mr. Angelini, who's going to talk about traffic stops and what to do if you are arrested.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, let me just give you a little bit about my background, so this way you know why what I tell you is correct. I spent 7.5 years as a Dallas police officer. I went to law school while I worked full-time as a police officer at SMU. Once I graduated from law school and passed the bar, I went to the Denton County District Attorney's Office, where I was there for 11.5 years. They also kept my commission, so I have 19 years as a certified peace officer. I created the DWI prosecution unit, where I went around the country teaching police officers and prosecutors how to better prosecute intoxication offenses, which are DWIs, intox manslaughters, and intox assaults. When my boss lost his election, they got rid of my position, so I became a defense attorney. And I've been a defense attorney since 2007. Okay, we all know how stressful being pulled over by the police are. Okay, we all seen the lights in our rearview mirror, and all of a sudden the hair on your arm stand up, and you realize what's going to happen. And I want to let you know too that a traffic stop is one of the most dangerous things for a police officer. So just so you know, more police officers are killed, well, it's probably second most, killed during traffic stops than anything else. So you have to take that into consideration. And I'll tell you what I used to do and how I used to act when the police pulled me over, and pull me over now, especially if it's after 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock where it's dark. The first thing I do is I pull over immediately, and you use your blinker if you can. Okay, if you're not too nervous, because people, unfortunately in Texas, don't use their blinker. Okay, so put your blinker on, pull over in a safe place. It's okay to continue to go if there's no safe place to pull over. If you're a woman, I would try to pull over in a lighted area. Okay, once you pull over, what I used to do is I put the car in park, I turn the light on inside the vehicle, and I would get my driver's license and my insurance out and have it waiting for the officer. Okay, that automatically decreases his sense once he sees that. You put the light on so he knows where your hands are, okay, and also so he could see your driver's license and your insurance. If you don't have the insurance there, just give him what you have. They are going to try to talk to you, like I remember I was taught as a police officer, the first thing you ask them is, do you know why I pulled you over? And has anybody been pulled over and been asked that? And you know why they're asking that? Because if you say, yes, I was speeding, then they write you a ticket and you have no chance in court. Okay, so they're getting you to confess on what you did. So that's the first thing they're going to ask you. Now, if you know you have a warrant, because there are plenty of people who have warrants and get pulled over by the police, don't try to run, don't try to make it worse for you. Okay, because sometimes, depending on what the warrant is, the police will not take you to jail. Now, I know that when I was a police officer, things would change because it was a while ago. But if I pulled over somebody and they had one city warrant out, okay, for like a traffic ticket, we wouldn't arrest them. We'd just let them go. We say, hey, you got a warrant, you need to take care of this. Okay, and then they do whatever they were going to do. If it was a traffic stop, if it was somebody on a motorcycle or a traffic officer, you would get a ticket unless you were his mother. Okay, so just realize that. If you have a warrant, don't make it worse. If it's one of those warrants where you're going to go to jail, do what you're supposed to do. And what I mean by that is you don't fight, okay? You don't start cursing at the officer. You don't want to make anything worse. You follow what they say. Because remember, they don't know who you are. So they're always protective about that. And it's funny because when I used to have a walking beat downtown. And we had this time where somebody was up in the NCNB building, downtown Dallas, with binoculars. And they were watching people deal drugs. And once the drugs happened, the sale happened, they came in with the horses and everybody to first of all, get the people out and then arrest the person who was dealing drugs. And I was there, and then we had this person, because it was a woman, who was going crazy, yelling and everything. Why are you arresting them? What are you doing? And I just pulled him to the side and said, hey, just give us a few minutes. Once she's under arrest, I will tell you what's going on. So it happened, I pulled him over and I said, there's somebody watching and she's dealing drugs, so that's why she was arrested. he goes, oh man, I didn't know that. But because he didn't know that, he could have got himself arrested and in another bad situation. If you ever have a question about something, the side of the road is not the place to take care of it, because it can only go downhill from there. That's why you hire an attorney or get appointed an attorney, and you take care of it after. The key is to take care of what's happening then and get home. On the side of the street, things could go bad very, very quickly. So let's say you have a warrant, or let's just say, the first thing they're gonna, well, let me put it this way. If you smoke marijuana, okay, don't ever smoke in your car. Why?
It's probable cause of search.
Right, because that smell doesn't come out of your car. So all of a sudden you roll down the window, even if you haven't smoked in a month, they smell it. And that gives them probable cause to be able to search your car because of the smell. Okay, so, you know, I'm not telling you it's still against the law, even though they don't prosecute it. But don't do it in your car. Okay, let's just say now you get pulled over, you got warrants, and you're going to go to arrest. Okay, what you basically do is go down to Lucera. Once you're there, and a lot of people don't realize this. First of all, if it's a warrant, you're probably going to have a bond amount on it already. Okay, now, do you all remember when Colonel West's wife got arrested? Okay. Now, I'm personal friends with Colonel West. I actually was part of his court-martial defense team in Iraq when they tried to court-martial him. And at that time, I was in Disney with my family when I got a text message saying, do you know what happened? And so I texted him, and then he called me. And he was upset for the same reasons that I hear some of my clients who have not been involved in the system upset at. Meaning, I can't see my wife. They won't let me get her out. Why is it taking so long? And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I tried to explain to him, when you go down to jail, unless it's on a warrant that already has a bond, you're going to see a judge at some point. Could be 4 hours, it could be 6 hours, depending on how busy they are. And where you go. Because some municipalities will have 2 times that you can see a magistrate to set the bond. So I told him, you're not going to see her until then. And she won't be able to get out. You can't let her out. And that's something normal people would say because they don't know the system. So realize that if you are going to get arrested, first of all, and it's a warrant, okay, where they're not going to be interviewing you on anything. They're taking you to jail based on a warrant. At some point, you're going to have to get in touch with somebody to bond you out. There'll be a bond amount. Now, depending on what the warrant is and how much the bond is, you could probably do a cash bond to get out, if it's just a smaller misdemeanor, or you're going to have to get a bail bondsman. But somebody outside of the jail is going to have to do that, unless it's a small one. Do they still allow them to, ma'am, do you know, to pay their own bond like the jail if it's $500? If you have your ATM card, they might let you take $500 if that's what the bond, and pay it to get out. But you still have to be processed. So either way, even if you have the money right then, it's going to take you a few hours to get out because you go through the system. Now, let's just say you're getting pulled over because of an offense. Let's say somebody accused you of something, okay? And they gave a description of your car, and you get pulled over. The same thing for this as a regular traffic stop, meaning you don't fight with the officer, you listen to them, you do what they say, because you don't know what they were told. Now, if they tell you, if they pull their guns on and tell you to put your hands out of the car, that means somebody told them that you had a weapon, you might have threatened to kill somebody or something like that. So that's called a felony stop. So they're doing that because the information they got is saying that you're dangerous or might be armed. So just realize that. That's what they're doing. Don't ever, like, if something like that, go and reach underneath your seat for something. Okay, if something's under there that you need, you tell the police officer. My friend who was a police officer almost shot somebody because they kept on reaching underneath the seat. What do you think the police officer thinks you're doing? Trying to get a gun. Okay, it's a sad way to possibly get shot because you wanted to get something that might have fallen on the ground. Okay, now, if they start interviewing you, there is never a bad thing, and this is even like on DWIs, to say, you know what, I'll be happy to help you, but I need to talk to my lawyer first. Now, there used to be a time where on videos we weren't allowed to show the jury that, but I think it's better to show the jury that. Because people, first of all, on a DWI, if I say, you know what, I would be glad to do this, but I need to talk to my attorney first. Okay, that's not, to most people, a refusal, even though we all know it's a refusal. And I think a person showing mental faculties, if they're saying, you know what, I know, but I need to talk to my attorney first. You know, also, well, you can't. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do anything. What the key is, and you have to weigh this. Like on a DWI stop, I have clients who refuse everything. Do you know if you're allowed to refuse field sobriety tests? No, what? You don't know, or you're not allowed?
No.
Okay. No, you can.
No.
Yeah. Most people don't know that. But what's going to happen if you refuse the field sobriety test?
Be arrested.
That's right. You're going to be arrested. Right. So you have to decide on what's better for you. I have clients who, you know, got pulled over for really bogus stuff, like the light on the license plate wasn't working. Okay, and they get out of the car fine, and they say, listen, I'm not doing anything unless I talk to an attorney. They don't sway. That's a really good case to go to trial with, as long as the blood test comes back in a reasonable amount that I could fight. Okay, but if the person is really intoxicated, can't stand up, it really does no good. Okay, but you have to decide on what you want to do. Because remember, they don't read you your rights until you're under arrest. So I've had many clients, and you probably had them too, well, they didn't read me my rights. And it's like, they don't have to until you're in custodial custody. So anything you say is going to be used against you. So I would try to keep everything limited when you're talking to police. Be respectful. Okay, don't say, I'm not going to tell you stupid anything. Say, I'm sorry, because that gets you nowhere either. You know, if you just say, no, sir, I'm sorry, or ma'am, I'm sorry, but I need to talk to an attorney first. I'm just not sure of my rights. And I think that sounds 100% better, especially if you have to go to trial, to the 6 people or 12 people who were sitting there. Oh, he asked for an attorney, or he or she asked for an attorney. Acted very reasonable. You see, because they're going to use anything you say against you. And then just realize, if you're going to have to go to jail, it's going to take at least 4 hours, at least, to get out. You could be in there all day. It could take you a couple of days, depending on what you're charged with. Because there are some cases where you have to go, like I would have to file to the judge and say, listen, I need a bond to get this person out. Especially if it's a revocation. A lot of jurisdictions don't like to give bonds if you were on probation, you violated your probation. So just understand or realize that it may take you a little while to get out. See, when I have clients who have warrants, and I know everybody here probably says the same thing, I tell them you need to take care of that as soon as possible. And the reason being is because you will always get caught at the worst possible time for you. You may be going for something that you need to, and inevitably, the police are going to pull you over at that time. And you're going to end up going to jail. So always try to take care of your business if you can. Because I don't know how many clients I had, I can't afford to go to jail right now. It's going to be at the worst possible moment.
On the way to child support payment.
That's it. That's it, or court. I had to go to court, something. Yes, sir.
Because we live in a surveillance society, I'm driving down the street, I stop at a gas station, I see the police talking with someone, harassing, whatever, and I decide to film it.
Right.
Am I not allowed to do that? Can I
No, you can film it.
Too? Okay.
You can film it.
Because you see it on television that, put the camera away, you can't be filming this type
nobody
of thing.
wants to be, videoed.
Right.
But you're allowed to. The place that I don't like, and I was taught totally different because I was a police officer 20, 30 years ago. Okay, is that I don't know how I would like if someone comes up and sticks a camera right in my face. You see, I was taught you never let somebody get within 6 feet of you.
Right.
Because you have a weapon, and people think if I have to fight you, I can only fight you with one hand. because I have to make sure that I have my hand on my gun, that nobody takes it away from me. So back in the old days, I wouldn't let you get that close. And we've seen the way things happen where people will go right up to them in their face. Now, how do you think they'll react to that? How would you react if somebody came right up and stuck
I
something
don't
in your
think they
face?
have a right to be in your face.
Right, right. So it's all, you know, nobody likes to be videotaped because also videotapes can be cut. You know what I mean? They can be altered.
Yeah.
So that's why. But do you have a right to videotape it? Yes, you do. And if you're, you know, hopefully if you're accused of a crime and there are surveillance videos, you'll get those videos, okay, eventually, to prove that you didn't do what they're saying you do.
But if you videotape, you should be ready for the interaction with the officer.
That's exactly right.
Because he or she is going to say something.
Right.
And they may say, don't do it, or they may just be upset at you. But the bottom line is, you got to be ready for that interaction.
No, I don't plan it, I'm just asking.
No.
You in general.
Yes, ma'am.
I get a lot of calls about people maybe getting stopped by police, and they have heard that they're gonna maybe legalize marijuana. They have legalized that everybody can have a gun and carry a gun now. Okay, but when a policeman stopped them and they have this gun, they may have maybe just one, they call them joints, these ones, cigarettes of marijuana, because they have heard that it's now legal.
Right.
Or it's not, I mean, not so much legal, but they can carry it. I mean, they can carry a gun and they can do all this stuff. What should I say to those people when they ask questions like that?
See, first of all, don't have two things like that together in a car. Okay, especially if you have a concealed carry license, okay, you have drugs in your car, you get charged with both.
They have to have a license.
You don't have to have a license to have a vehicle. I mean, to have a gun in your car. Okay? But what you have to do now, I have a concealed carry, even though you don't need it anymore. Okay? The first thing I do, and what you're supposed to do, is if I'm pulled over, I have my driver's license and the concealed carry. And I'll tell the officer, I have a pistol in the glove compartment. Okay, so they know. Because a lot of people, like me, I keep my insurance in my glove compartment where the gun is. Now, police officers can pull up by your plate if you have insurance or not. But I will tell them, as soon as I have a gun in the glove compartment, they said, okay, just leave it there. Because you don't want to go reaching for it, open it up, and then them see the gun.
So
Now,
they tell a police officer.
right, right.
It's two entirely different situations.
Right.
The possession of marijuana, while they've been talking about legalizing it, it is not legal. And so that's a separate situation. The gun is a different situation in that, yes, you can have possession of a weapon, but it is incumbent upon the person, if you get pulled over, even if you don't have a concealed weapon permit, you have to tell the officer, there's a weapon in my car. Once you've done that, first of all, you've diffused the situation because the officer is much more comfortable because you're honest with him, and he or she is going to say, okay, we'll leave it where it is. And secondly, you've indicated that you've got some semblance of responsibility, which is a good thing. Now, if you have a concealed weapons permit, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No, go ahead, sir.
If you have a concealed weapons permit, as he said, and I have a permit, I present my driver's license and my permit to the officer. That again diffuses the situation because the officer knows that you okay. And he says, no, just don't reach for your weapon, but he's also going to take his hand off of his gun because he knows that you've already been vetted.
Okay.
No, sorry. And the other thing I was going to say, and I think that this goes to the heart of your question, I don't have to have a license to carry a weapon anymore, okay? And so therefore, I'm okay, I'm fine, I can drive around, whatever. However, if I have marijuana and I have my gun in my car, all of a sudden I have committed a crime. Because marijuana is still illegal, and so if you have your firearm, even though that's fine, if you have it while you're committing a crime, which is the possession of the marijuana, now you have two offenses that you've just committed. Possession of marijuana, which is still illegal in Texas, and what they call UCW, which is,
Unlawful.
I don't
unlawful
carry a
carry of a
weapon.
weapon. So just understand that while you don't need a license to have a firearm in your vehicle or whatever, they changed the laws, everybody's aware of that. If you have it while you're committing another minor offense, for all intents and purposes, you have now committed a crime having that weapon.
Well, you hear on TV though about how you're not gonna go to jail if you have marijuana in your car. You know?
But-
Going to jail and committing a crime are two different things.
So what I'm saying,
Yeah.
how can people tell me that? I mean,
Just tell them to call an attorney.
Yeah.
And just be compliant and
Yeah.
live,
And,
go home.
and the biggest reason of being compliant in your vehicle is because the laws of search and seizure are much more lenient for the police officer while you're in a car. Okay, it's very hard for them to search your house. They have to get a warrant to do that. But because the vehicle is mobile, okay, the courts have allowed them greater deference to go and search your cars. So that's why I've always told, don't keep drugs in your car. Don't smoke marijuana in your car. If you have to smoke it outside. And especially if you're going to carry a weapon in your car, do not have anything in there that could cause a crime. Because a speeding ticket is not going to make you get a UCW. Okay, marijuana, even though people don't think it's that's big of a deal, will.
Right.
Okay.
Can I go for too long now?
No, you didn't, but I know you're in the middle of a campaign. He is running for judge in Collin County. And I can't endorse anyone, but I can give you the information. I'm just telling you that he's on the ballot. It's just information. I'm just telling you he's on the ballot. I'm just telling you that he's on the ballot. I'm not telling you what to, I'm just saying he's on the ballot.
What do you really feel?
And we thank you so much for your
thank
time.
you.
You have to leave and get back on that campaign.
Thank you very
We
much.
wanna
Yes, sir.
respect your time.
So I'm old school too.
Yes.
I'm from California.
Okay.
But there was a time when, friends, we were told that, if you get stopped, you can get out of the car,
No.
but with your hands up, you're
No.
not out of the car.
And I'll tell-
So this is way back.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
And I'll tell you why. They'll
That's
tell you to get right back in the car if you try to get out.
Because what they were doing is trying to not give the officer an opportunity to search the car
Right.
by getting out of the car. Because you just said that as long as you're in the car.
Yes.
And so that was a trick to get out of the car. with
Where
the-
you see this happen a lot is on people who don't come from this country. They'll get out because they don't want to disrespect the officer. But they had a film on us, okay, in the police academy where a guy got out of the car. Okay, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry. He gets up to the car and he pulls a gun out from the back. And now the officer's stuck in the vehicle where he can't move. Okay, so they always want you in the car because if you notice, if it's at night, they'll put the light in your rear view, in your side mirror. So you can't see them coming up. They'll come up close like this because if you turn to try to shoot them, they still have an area to get away. So no, you just stay. The safest thing to do is to stay in there and put your hands on the wheel with your driver's license and insurance.
10 and 2.
Thank you.
But
Thank you
isn't
so
that
much.
that moment where you have to search and get your driver's license?
Well,
so
I
you
always
turn
try to
your
do
light
that.
on?
I always try to do that as soon as you pull over. Look for it.
Okay.
There's a school of thought, and you tell me what you think, is that at this point, the way our society is when the cops pull you over, don't move. 10 and 2 hands on
Yeah.
and when
Right.
they ask you for your documents, then you reach.
Right.
Don't reach for nothing until they come up to your window and ask you for what they want. You can turn the light on, but keep your hands on that steering wheel and don't. That's just me, and even me. I'm that way, but I want to thank you, and if we can, I think Judge Collins has some questions for Mr. Wilson. If you could head Joe up here.